I was speaking to a client of mine, and he happened to tell me he's in Dubai. Okay, so he happened to tell me that his company had not paid him for now 6 months. 6 months they didn't pay him the salary. And so when I asked him, like, how are you managing and how are you paying your bills, he said, I have a sizable chunk of savings. I said, okay. Then I asked him, if they don't pay you the salary, are you okay with it? He said, no, of course not. I need the money. You know, just imagine 6 months of your salary, okay? 6 months. That's a big chunk. So I said, what about the 7th month? Do you think you would get? And his response was, well, I'm hoping, I hope I get. See, now the problem is hope is not a strategy, okay? And the problem where money is concerned, it's a very delicate situation. I'll give you an example to tell you what I mean. One of a very close friend of mine, his name is Suresh. He worked in UAE for nearly 50 years. I don't want to give personal details, but this guy worked for a multinational giant, okay? He was the one who built, who created the standards which they follow to this day. Imagine in, I think, 12 countries they have the operation or whatever, and they follow his policies and procedures that he chalked out in Dubai. He was also my client. Well, he was my friend first. He was more like a senior person, a mentor figure to me, and later on, as I got good in my career, he became my client, to my honor and humility. Okay, but now, and yes, his children also took my advice and whatever. But today he is no longer in UAE. He is left. Now, what had happened was, after being in that multinational company, he got a lucrative position as the director after the chairman of a company for a Malayali entrepreneur, Malayali guy. And this guy, this was during the boom period of UAE, the boom phase. And he was taken on as a director for the company. And his salary was literally, I think, like double, okay? Plus he would get a Range Rover, plus he would get housing, incredibly lucrative salary, very good salary, okay? Let's take it in the range of 100,000, just to make it a round figure, okay? Now, he worked for the company. He all of a sudden purchased a brand new Range Rover, and I was very happy for him because, nearly in his 50s now, he got what he wanted. And he was working for this guy. I met him after, obviously you don't keep in touch with the person every time. We were in touch, and he had to travel, and then we would be in touch again. But however, after coming to Thailand, there was a massive gap. I didn't keep in touch with him. After coming to Thailand, he got in touch with me through the internet. He said, oh, Loy, so you left UAE. I said, hey man, where are you? What are you doing? And he told me that he was now in India. I was like, hey, that's good. Retired life, huh? Enjoying the millions. And that is where he told me, no, Loy, I lost everything. It was like, what do you mean you lost everything? You are doing very well. You had property, savings. He said, no. He said, what had happened was, long story short, what had happened was the company that he joined, they didn't pay him his salary plus bonuses plus commission for 2 years. Okay, 2 years. On top of that, the Range Rover that he had taken in his name. He had taken a bank loan. And then he had taken an apartment in his name and he purchased it, and that was during the boom phase and obviously expensive. Overall, finally the owner declared bankruptcy, and the owner cheated everyone and ran away. And with that, nobody in the company got paid salaries. He didn't get paid 2 years salary. And on top of that, he had to pay the Range Rover, he had to pay the house which he took on loan, he had to pay for the rich lifestyle that he lived. And on top of that, he was a very honorable man. He didn't want to run away from UAE without paying his loans. And he took on another job and started from, lesser salary, much more lower than, obviously after 50, after like nearly 55, 60, you don't get jobs, okay? And he stayed past his retirement age, taking his own visa, working as a consultant. The boom period was no longer there, so the salaries were no longer there. And he ended up struggling, and then because of the stress and pressure, he got a stroke. He was paralyzed. And then 6 months of that in the hospital, and then learning to start his life all over again. It was a mess. Eventually his children took up jobs, and they're a very close-knit family. His wife did something at the side, children took up jobs, and together they were able, even he worked, together they were able to pay the loan. I think after 4 or 5 years, imagine 4 to 5 people, even the daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws, everyone chipped in together. And after 5 years, 5 of all working together, he was able to clear credit card, loan, this, that, auto loan, and he came back. And now he's, staying in not his own apartment. He's staying in a rented flat, which his children are taking care of him. Very sad. I really felt bad for him, and I said, oh shit, man, I didn't know about this. He said, no, Loy, I didn't tell anyone. He's saying, I was so depressed, I decided to just be alone and fight it out. I kind of disabled my social media, and I don't want anyone to know. Because when you go through tough times, nobody is there, right? So, see, this non-payment of salaries in UAE is a very commonplace. In my 40 years of being in UAE, there were 2 companies which I worked for that didn't pay salaries on time. And the problem is, when you don't get paid salaries on time, you'll be lucky if they pay you the whole thing. That's number 1. Number 2 is, they don't pay you your salary and you leave the job, will they pay you back? And if you sign the papers that everything is taken care of, only then you can change the job, right? Because you have to sign the dotted line, all my dues have been paid and I'm okay to work for another job, and they don't have an objection, I don't have. How do you sign that if 6 months salary is not paid? So since I was working with this client, I told him, we need to plan out a strategy how you can get a new job. See, even right now, even today, there are companies which are not paying on time. There are companies which are dealing. Even this wage payment system, there are ways and means to circumvent it. You can ask the employer to sign something. You can, on behalf of him, you can go and withdraw the money. There's so many ways to play around with this loophole. I know there are employees who have signed a SIM card, who have signed a ID card, who have given their passport, signed the papers, and they have to claim that they receive the wage, the monthly wage, when after they get it in their account, it's taken out. They don't get anything. I mean, what do you do? See, my genuine advice to you is, I'm not saying all these companies are bad people. There are some companies who are genuine people. There are some companies who are crooks. Okay? But what should matter to you is, you should be paid on time. This non-payment of salaries is not right. Just imagine if, suppose, now the guy is saying he is well-to-do, he has money. What if tomorrow he loses all his money? Then you have to lay hand to mouth, right? How do you pay your bills, man? So that's not the way to work, you know. My honest suggestion for any one of you working in the Middle East, if they do not pay your salaries on time, do not, I repeat, do not agree to work. It's better you leave. Better you leave at the early signals. Better start applying for a job quickly before it piles up 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month. Otherwise you'll end up with, you know, all the months of hard work you put is all gone to waste. And then there's no one else to blame but you. So this is what I want to share with you guys. Do you know companies that are still not paying? I know plenty of them. I get enough and more emails and letters. I just suggest, please, if you're in the Middle East, especially UAE, you're not being paid your salary, better get it. There are ways, tips, tricks and strategies how to go about. But that doesn't mean that if you do this, you'll be successful. If the employer has a strong legal team and influence, proves to be more of a headache. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. And let me know if you agree, disagree with me. Because this is still a recurring problem in UAE, which they don't talk about in the newspaper. Because there are a dime a dozen, so many people. Alright? Guys, take care. Put your comments and thoughts below. It's me signing off. Chalo.